Okay, so I'm really excited about this. This is Ian from Mindful Marketplace and a tiny book about.com, tiny books, big ideas. And essentially, we've collected about, it looks like 25 or so, a little bit less, questions from folks who are ostensibly either aspiring to write a book this year or who are currently published authors and are looking to expand their brand and become a little bit more entrepreneurial with respect to their books and their publishing platform. So this is a question that comes up quite a bit for me because I do so many recordings that are on YouTube in particular. We have two different channels. One is the Mindful Marketplace channel. The other is A Tiny Revolution. And I publish a lot of like faceless audio content that is, that shows up on YouTube. So I get questions about like turning like an audio book style, kind of recording into a YouTube video, like what tools and tech do I recommend? And essentially, here is the process that I follow. So step number one is I actually use Transistor, the podcast recording service for the audio courses that I teach and the private podcasts that I and some other folks put out. And essentially what I do is I sync one of those two YouTube channels. Actually, they're both synced with my Transistor account. And essentially, it pushes any audio like this one here, which you're going to hear on YouTube as well if you're following either of those channels. It transforms those audios. Transforms might be too ambitious of a word. It turns them, converts them into videos that are audio only on YouTube. So essentially, it turns the audio into more content on our YouTube channel. And I don't have to do anything. All I have to do is upload the audio as I would do ordinarily with Transistor. So this is part of a private audio feed as well. But this also gets pushed out onto YouTube, which means I have new videos that are available to folks who are, paying attention to either of those two channels, which is about 3,000 people. And it's interesting that though the audio-based content often gets the highest amount of views. I mean, the YouTube stuff that I put out generally gets very kind of middling attention. Some are better than others, but generally it's not a huge, it's not a huge viewership that sort of engages with the screen shares and those kind of course content style videos. But ironically, the audio content tends to get the best response. And this not only applies to those two channels, but we have, content on another channel that I don't promote too often, which is more for therapy and therapists and folks who are in the therapist kind of marketing industry. That stuff does really, really well there, like audio only content, because those folks generally are, listening on the go, and they're, more kind of amenable to, audio-based learning rather than video-based learning, which, by the way, I count myself amongst that group as well. I hate watching video. I don't watch any YouTube videos barely at all, certainly not my own. And I much prefer, because of my lifestyle, to listen. Audiobooks, podcasts, things, like books on Audible, etc. That's really my own kind of personal preference. And I find that it makes it very, very easy for me to apply that same strategy in my own brand of business. And I guess the last thing I would say is try to keep in mind that, do things that you enjoy, that you prefer yourself. I don't watch a lot of videos. I don't like watching people talk on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram. And therefore, doing something that I would actually listen to myself, like I'm doing here, is a is a way of scratching one's own itch, let's say. Like, I am actually doing the sort of content that I most prefer to listen to as well. So I'd recommend that's a, kind of a truism that all of us ought to be, engaging with. Do the things that you would actually most be interested in hearing or receiving yourself. All right. And so that's the answer to that question. Go to Transistor or something like that, and then just have the your audios published directly to your channel. All you have to do is sync it, via the back end of Transistor. The only caveat to this is it does require the middle plan and up. So Transistor is a fee-based service. The level that we pay is, I think it's like $50 a month or something, but it's really well worth it for a number of other benefits, but certainly for this one. Auto publishing to YouTube is a superpower, and it saves a ton of time as well.